The Skeleton Legion of Necronominus is in the DorkLair! Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Mythic Legion's Skeleton Legion builder. This was reissue version from the All-Stars 2 wave. The original version of this was in the regular Kickstarter 1.0 wave. This is part of the Congregation of Necronominus, the undead army. And it's a pretty cool figure. I got a couple little issues. There's one kind of glaring error, basically like kind of a major paint error. But other than that, it's really, really cool. It's classic skeleton. The head sculpt is a real highlight for me. It's just a really nice addition to the collection because this is actually my first skeleton. So it's a really neat figure. And taking a quick look at the packaging, same as usual, the regular box. It's got a slide out card back that's kind of in there with like little plastic edges right there. And then it's got the Necronominus symbol on the side, and then on this side, it's got the two different pictures of the two different Legion builders. They didn't reissue the gold Legion builder, just the regular one. And there's no bio because none of the Legion builders have a bio. But typical packaging, it's nice, but it's been the same every time pretty much. And let's start it off with the sculpt, paint, and detail on this guy. The real highlight for me is this head sculpt, but like I mentioned in the intro, this figure has one pretty glaring error. I don't think it was like this. I don't have the original 1.0 version of this, but this All-Stars reissue has a neck, you can see right there, that is mispainted. That is supposed to be, if you take a look at it, bone. Like that neck right there, it's painted in the armor plating color, and this should actually be painted in the bone color because it's actually the skeletal neck, spine, or whatever of the figure. So that's kind of one major thing error-wise, but it's not too crazy because it actually, one of the nice things about it is it brings on this contrast, almost like a sort of floating head kind of look to it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, it doesn't look right if you actually really pay attention to the neck. So kind of an issue there. But the overall, the head looks fantastic. The bone on this figure is painted really well. In fact, the bone on the head, in my opinion, is painted a little bit better than the bone on the rest of the figure. But just look at that. It's got such a nice sculpt that the wash really gives you those like cranial plates. And you can really see it. And then on top of that, it's just got so much texture as well. And then the eyes are painted black to give them a nice depth, nice deep, dark eye sockets. And yeah, so the head is really, really nice. I'm going to try it out on some other figures at some point. It's going to look pretty cool, I think. But it's a really nice head sculpt. I love it. There's no real paint besides just the color, the solid gray armor color on the rest of the armor. And, you can see the sculpt work and whatnot, but there's no wash, no other real paint on there, which would be nice because I think the 2.0 skeleton has weathering, although that one might have been a little more expensive. This is like the $22 Legion builder. I think that other one might have been the $30 price. Don't quote me on that though. So moving down, well, looking at the arms, something that's kind of cool. Let me take these pieces off here. So the arms have the armor glued on there, but it's not glued at the top right here. So, I mean, I guess I can get into this in the articulation, but when you move it, it actually floats up on top, which is nice. So you don't have to try to tuck it under. It'll go right over that and get out of the way. The bone on the arms itself, it's, like I said, it's not quite as textured as the skull. I wish it was a little more detailed, but still really nice, really bone looking. It's got like those holes. I don't even know what you would call that, but you see it on bone that's kind of weathered and stuff. You can see the joints are starting to flake off. That always happens with these figures. But I really like the look of the bone on this guy. It looks very realistic. Not that I see a lot of bone really on a regular basis, but especially not human bone. Then coming down here, again, the skirt is a soft material, and the front of the skirt pegs into the front of the pelvis. You can see the legs over here. Same kind of paintwork and detail on the legs, if I can get it to focus. and then the armor at the bottom. Most of the 1.0 figures have this kind of leg piece in the same armor looking stuff going on. So yeah, I mean, aside from that like discolored neck, which is kind of a bummer because it's, if you look at the neck, it just doesn't look right. If he's looking head on, it's fine. But once you start paying attention, it just looks weird. So that's kind of a bummer. But otherwise, I think it looks pretty cool. Pretty good looking skeleton. And to see how this guy looks next to a couple other figures, in terms of Mythic Legions, here's the Vampire Queen Princess. I forget exactly, but Lucretia. That's an awesome figure. I actually have a review of that one. And then also from the same All-Stars wave, I just did a video of this guy. This is Vorgus Vermilius. And you can get a sense of how they all kind of look really good together. Just such an awesome line. And then some other lines. We have some Mezcos. There's Batman and Captain America. You can get a sense. They scale pretty well. And moving on. One more figure. I have my current obsession. This is a manga realization, but the Misho Bandai figures, which also they're a little bigger, but they're not crazy out of scale. So, you can get them in there together, I think. And for accessories, he comes with this axe, and it's got the other piece that you can pop that spike out and then put the other one in to go double-sided axe. It's the weapons he comes with, I feel, are kind of a little too clean for a skeleton to be wielding. I wish they were like rusted up and old, like they came from the same crypt as the person. But anyway, here's the sword he comes with. Again, nice and clean. I kind of think I might pose this guy with the sword that came with the orc that I have, because it's all rusty. And then he also has a dagger. And two, as I showed earlier, two shoulder pauldrons, and the typical waist or shoulder harness so that you can put the sword in there. Like that. Or the dagger around the waist, maybe. And for articulation, it's the standard Mythic Legions articulation. Even though a lot of the parts are different because it's like these skeleton legs and arms, the torso and the gauntlets and the feet and stuff are generally the same. So the head is on a swivel. The neck swivels, and then the head is also on a ball. So I can look up this far. I can look down a little bit, rock side to side. But there's only swivel at the base of the neck, so that's almost non-functional because it can swivel at the ball socket too. The arms, like I kind of mentioned earlier, the arms can go up pretty good. Once you pull that flap up and over, they can rotate all the way around. There's a single jointed elbow. He can come up this far. There is a swivel here at the forearm, and then the wrist has a hinge and it rotates. Same on this side, basically the same kind of wrist joint on this side as well. And then the waist, there's no chest articulation. You can see there, like, this is still a pretty new figure, so I'm still getting some flaking coming off here on those joints. That's pretty common. So if you have that, it's not, I mean, it's just kind of comes with the territory here. So he can crunch forward that far. It's on a ball, and he can crunch back that far, and you can see he can rock side to side a little bit. The forward crunch is probably the most action he's got there. You can see that there's a hinge and swivel here, and then the hinge there at the hip. And I mean, he can go out as far as you need him to, so pretty good articulation in the hips. And he can kick forward as far as you would ever need, and then back crazy amounts. And then the knee joint gets about that far, nothing too crazy. Single joint. There is a swivel at the bottom of the knee joint right there, and that'll rotate pretty much all the way around. And then you do have an ankle hinge about that far, and then hinge up about that much, and then it will, on that angle peg, it will rock really far. So standard Mythic Legion's articulation, you know, obviously it would be nice if they had some double jointed elbows and knees, but especially the elbows, it would be nice to be able to get them to come across and use two-handed sword poses a little more. Like he can probably hold it, but not great because of the angle of the hands. So let's see here. So if we give him this, the hands on the 2.0, on the All-Stars figures, so he can hold it two-handed, but he can't really do any poses with it two-handed. This is pretty much it. He can come up like that, and just sort of hold it in front of him. But there's no side to side at all. There's really not much you can do with that pose. So yeah, let me kind of get him into this pose while we finish up here. So overall, I like the figure. It's got a really nice head sculpt. It's a really good looking figure. It just has that one glaring error. And I've seen other people with it. It's not just mine. I think it's just what they did with this one. It was probably just a factory accident that got reproduced across the whole wave or release or production line. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you like my content, check out my Instagram page. I have action figure photos, action figure news, and deals on figures and all sorts of stuff over there. So give me a follow. There's a link in the description below. And be sure to check out my other videos, like my review of the Vorgus Vermilius Blood Armor. And until next time, may the Force be with you. DorkLair!